Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to TCS iON IntelliGem 2023. Before we move any further, may I please request Mr. Mahadevan Venkatakrishnan, Head School Education Unit TCS iON, to set the ball rolling.
A happy new year 2023 to each and every one of you, and a very warm welcome to the national grand finale of the fifth edition of TCS iON IntelliGem. It gives me immense pleasure to join all of you who are gathered to cheer and support the finalists in this contest. In a few moments, we will witness the finale where these young and eager, the best of the lot who reach the finals, will showcase their skills competing for the crown. Our heartfelt congratulations to all the finalists who have made it thus far. When we started IntelliGem in 2018, the goal was to reach out to schools, educators, and the student community in creating and strengthening the awareness of the necessary skill sets for the future. Structured in a contest mode, we run this program almost throughout your entire academic year, or I should say, the core of your academic year. The contest starts in August around the Independence Day and ends in January on the Republic Day, aptly to really identify the gems and nourish them to become impactful nation builders in the future. The topics, the rounds, the evaluation rubric, all have been carefully put together by a team of experts. Every year, we try to introduce something new. Last year, it was visual literacy, given the growing need and growing presence of students online during the pandemic. This year, we have brought in one another topic, very relevant for the times, extremely important, given today's children are going to be the change makers, policy makers, or innovators in the future. The topic revolves around sustainable development, sustainability. This year, we have integrated sustainability as a core theme throughout the program. And many of the finalists will be talking, debating, answering some of the core challenges on sustainability. We are happy that many of them have already showcased in the previous rounds their knowledge and skill sets around sustainability as a theme. Our goal is that every student makes a quantum leap in their skill sets and unlock their true potential. Given the growing importance of skills beyond academics, IntelliGem has grown to become one of the largest national level contests in the country. Structured around the 21st century skills, today we are proud to tell you that TCS iON IntelliGem is the largest contest which runs across the country. We are very grateful to all the educators, to all the school leaders who have embraced this and who have been supporting year on year. In fact, a large number of schools have been participating right from the first year, right from inception. Thank you for all of you who have made this wonderful journey possible. I don't want to stand between the finale and you. So let me wish all the finalists who have made it thus far, whatever your performance, you should be proud that you have proven to be an intelligent. And that is what we celebrate. Each and every one of you is a gem. Let the finale begin. Wishing you all the very best. Thank you.
It is my pleasure to once again welcome you to the grand finale of the 5th edition of TCS iON IntelliGem, an innovative national contest to unearth the gems of tomorrow. We are gathered here for the finale of Communication Skills category Senior Level Competition, brought to you by TCS iON in partnership with STEP from the Hindu Group. Let me begin by introducing our most esteemed panel of jury for the day. Ms. Nitya Lohit is a training manager at the Hindu STEP, where she manages all the training programs. She designs and develops material for face-to-face training across various levels, develops online resources for teacher development, and has conducted teacher training workshops. She also engages with learners through webinars, one-to-one coaching, and in large classrooms. Previously, she worked with Teach for India as a full-time teacher to children in an under-resourced school for 2 years. Through this experience of teaching in classrooms and working with key education stakeholders like students, principals, and parents, she has an understanding of the grassroots realities of India's education system. Prior to this, she also has over 4 years of experience as a software engineer. She holds a degree in electronics and communication engineering from Anna University. Ms. Tara Mohan is an assistant content editor at STEP from the Hindu Group. She completed her master's in English literature at English and Foreign Languages University, Hyderabad, and worked as a teacher for 5 years. She has experience handling different kinds of curricula like IB, ICSE, and CBSE. She has also completed CELTA certification. Currently, she creates English language teaching and learning content for STEP and is also involved in teacher training projects offered by STEP. Ms. Shailaja Ramesh is a content manager at STEP. An avid reader, her passion for English led her on a path which took her all the way after graduating with a master's degree from the Ethiraj College for Women to the National University of Singapore, where she pursued a doctoral degree in English literature. Her stint in Singapore also opened up the world of education and pedagogy for her. Having worked at Cambridge Assessment English, she brings a rich insight into the needs of English learners in India. And for now, our most important guests, our finalists. They have successfully made it to the grand finale after proving their mettle in 3 challenging rounds. Please put your hands together to wish them luck for the grand finale. Welcome Ishan Jain from Indus International School, Bangalore. Sanat Marwa from Indus International School, Bangalore. Aditi Satyanarayana from National Hillview Public School, R.R. Nagar, Bangalore. Manya Sardar from Sanjay Godawat International School, Kolhapur. Saliha Bilal from Dean's Academy, Bangalore. Prateek M from Padma Sheshatri Balabhavan Senior Secondary School, KK Nagar, Chennai. It's finally time to begin. Get ready for part 1, Vlog. Our participants were asked to create an innovative 1-minute introductory video which they sent in earlier. Let's have a look at our first candidate's Vlog. Ishan Jain from Indus International School, Bangalore.
Hello everyone, I'm Ishan Jain of Indus International School, Bangalore. I'm 12 and I'm in the 7th grade. I'm a voracious reader, so much so that I used to read newspapers at the age of 4. This got me admission a grade above where I was supposed to be, and I saved some money for my parents, and they're still proud of me for that. I don't mean to brag, but I'm also a published author. I wrote my book on money, London Here I Come, for kids at the age of 8, and it was published by CNBC TV 18 and is on Amazon. I don't just do things that I love, but I also try to challenge myself. So I'm always at step 1 of learning some new skill while I'm excelling and winning at another. I am an optimist, and so I'm constantly trying to be the best version of myself possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Ishan, for the engaging presentation. Next, we have Sanat Marwa from Indus International School, Bangalore.
I believe that music is a language that helps us navigate our world. So for my introduction, I'm going to play a song that I created and composed. Hi, I'm Sanat Marwa from Indus International School, Bangalore. 12 years old and been here, and here. Geography is my sphere. Maps and flags are what I hold dear. I'm a football fanatic. Supporting my humanity has become a habit. I'm school captain and playing at state level. In academics, I'm at the top level. I'm in student council, coming up with ideas like a lot. My life project is planting trees, teaching second graders maths like 1, 2, 3. Music has always let me be free. Now I'm gonna rap on my own beat. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanat, for that interesting presentation. Aditi Satyanarayana from National Hill View Public School, RR Nagar, Bangalore.
Hello everyone, I'm Aditi Satyanarayana from National Hill View Public School. If I had to describe myself in one word, I would choose creative. I express this creativity of mine through art. I've always been inclined towards art ever since I was a little kid, and even now I pursue it. Painting and sketching have instilled in me a sense of calmness and patience, which I think are very important, especially in the 21st century. Another way in which I think people can express themselves is through writing. Even though I'm not much of a writer, I still love reading others' works. To be honest, I wasn't much of a reader either until a year or two ago. The person who brought me into reading was one of my close friends. Now, I can pick up any book of any genre, be it fiction, fantasy, autobiographies, thrillers, or even dystopian themes. You name it. But I think the genre I lean towards more is fantasy. Immersing yourself in that new world is so enchanting for me. I've even started my own book club at school along with some of my close friends who are as passionate for books as I am. I've gone on and on about the books I like and the books I read. But I think the books you read influence the sort of person you grow up to be in future. Like the books I have read have made me more confident, humble, and have improved my skills to interpret various situations, which I think are very important traits we all must possess. Thank you.
Thank you, Aditi, for the insightful presentation. Manya Sarda from Sanjay Godavat International School, Kolhapur.
Greetings everyone, greetings to you. I'm gonna tell you about me in a way cool and new. With books, my love, my life, my soul, and the fictional characters that make me feel whole. I've taken this introduction and given it my own spin. So without any further ado, let us all begin. First and foremost, I'm a bookworm, like Hermione Granger in the Harry Potter series. I'm rebellious, like Bella Swan in the Twilight Saga. Like Nancy Drew, I'm inquisitive. Like Arjun in the Mahabharata, I'm focused. I'm also very emotional, like Shiva in the Immortals of Melwa. But most importantly, I'm fun-loving and friendly, like Leo Valdez in the Heroes of Olympus. So this is me, happy and carefree, ever changing like the moods of the sea. Hope you like me for what I am, ladies and gentlemen, sirs and ma'ams.
Thank you, Manya, for the wonderful presentation. Saliha Bilal from Dean's Academy, Bangalore.
I'm still learning, said Michelangelo at the age of 87. I'm Saliha Bilal from Dean's Academy. One thing that I want to be known for is learning. Two qualities that help me learn continuously are empathy and participation. First, when I'm empathetic, I listen more and learn others' perspectives. That helps me become a good communicator. To grow my empathy, I am learning the sign language. This year, I also did book reading for visually challenged people. I have helped spreading awareness on Alzheimer's disease, child labor, and fake news. I am the social media head for a volunteer organization called Teens for Cancer Patients. Second, I participate in varied events like sports, martial arts, Olympiads, Model United Nations, and most importantly, TCS ION IntelliGem regularly. Sometimes I win, sometimes I lose, but every time I learn something new. Here I am today to learn more from my fellow participants and the jury. Thank you.
That was an interesting insight into your life. Thank you, Saliha. Pratik M. from Padma Sheshatri Balabhavan Senior Secondary School, KK Nagar, Chennai.
Greetings. Every morning we have two options: to slumber on with our dreams or awaken and pursue them. I hold fast to the conviction that I am shaped by my aspirations and the endeavors I undertake to bring them to fruition. I believe in the power of mathematics, science, and technology to revolutionize the world. These three disciplines can be likened to the three elven rings of power found in J.R.R. Tolkien's magnum opus, The Lord of the Rings, which is my absolute favorite novel. I am an innovator and inventor at heart, which means I will not stop inventing. Some of my projects include an initiative using machine learning to enhance medicine, and a bin to segregate biodegradable and non-biodegradable waste, tackling one of the world's most pressing issues, pollution. So the next time someone asserts that a youth of 14 years old is too young to change the world, it is high time to prove them wrong. I am M. Pratik, the surmounter of obstacles. Thank you.
Thank you, Pratik, for the wonderful presentation. I must say, all the introductions were quite innovative. Wonderfully done, participants. Let's move on to part 2, group discussion. You will have 10 minutes for this round. Before we reveal the topic, I would like to talk to you about something that is at the core of this competition's values this year. All the group discussion, a picture speaks 1,000 words, and block and tackle topics are aligned to the 17 Sustainable Development Goals or SDGs laid out by the UN in the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. These goals are an urgent call for action by all countries across the world. The topic for the group discussion will be revealed now, and here it is. This topic is aligned with Goal 4 of the SDGs, which is quality education. In this volatile economic condition, financial literacy should be included in the school curriculum to educate children about the value of money and the economy. Part 2 commences. Time limit for this would be 10 minutes.
Okay, participants, before we start, you know that we have 10 minutes for the group discussion, right? So, you will have to speak for 10 minutes. So, don't stop. When you get your chance, please speak. Unmute yourself and speak. Do you have any questions? All right, let's start.
So, in this volatile economic condition, financial literacy should be included in the school curriculum to educate children about the value of money and the economy. So, one major misconception that we have to address is the economy and money. All those things are too complicated for children to understand and is to be studied by economics majors with degrees in maths that do all their fancy maths calculations and predict what the future will happen, whether stocks will go up or down. How will that even affect my life is a question that students ask every single day. And it is these questions that we must answer to students before we introduce anything new. For example, science, social, these subjects, students are questioning why we need to learn these subjects. So we must clearly address the fact that students are not being told why they have to learn and what are the real world applications of the same. If you go and tell, say, a ninth grader on how the economy works, about supply and demand chain, show them a graph and make a formal presentation like a business company, they're not going to understand.
what you have to do is teach them why and where they will use it in their own lives. I've seen many people on the internet complaining that schools teach you so much about polynomials and number theory, but they don't teach you how to file your taxes. So it is this gap between theory and practicals that we need to bridge, and it is in this case of money and the economy that we need, that this gap needs to be bridged all the sooner, because as everyone knows, we're heading towards a recession. People are not being able to manage their finances.
So I agree with Pratik. So my sister recently gone to college. So she recently stepped out in the world and she realized that she had learned nothing about the economy. She recently got into investing in stocks and investing in the economy. However, she knew nothing about it. She did not learn anything about that in school. And as she went to learn outside of India independently, she didn't know about the value of money as everything was being provided by her parents before, and she didn't know how to spend it, how to save it, and how to use it properly. So I believe as our economic condition becomes more volatile, and as Pratik said, that we'll be heading to a recession, I believe that financial literacy should be included in the school curriculum as it is a vital 21st century skill that all children need to learn.
I do agree with both of you, because I think that schools not only contribute us through our academic development, but they make us develop our personality. And I think that financial literacy is such an important 21st century skill, because what all you learn in school and the curriculum basically is there so that you can get a job and you can earn and you can become financially independent. But after all those years of struggling in school and then in college, after getting a job, if you're not if you don't know how to manage the money that you earn on a daily basis or a monthly basis, then you can fall into so many scams which might happen, because I'm pretty sure we have our grandparents at home who are not as well versed in finance as our parents, or even now we're becoming from online and from talking to our friends and our parents about finance. But I think that if we think about our grandparents, then there are so many cases in which they get online scams where they don't know where to invest their money. And if I have to talk about another sector of finance, like cryptocurrency, it's one of the major ways of making money these days. So then why not teach it in school so that we can become prepared for what is upcoming in the years to come? Because by the time that we become adults and we start earning and working, the world would have entirely changed. There are so many ways to earn and make yourself financially independent, so why not start teaching it from a young age at school?
I totally agree with you. In fact, today's children always, today's youth population is going towards leadership. They're becoming more and more independent. But this aspect has not been addressed yet as such. They're talking about environmental factors. They're talking about leadership in politics. But this is such an important thing in today's world, and it really should be addressed. So I do agree with you there.
Yes, exactly. So to summarize what we had discussed till now, to just keep track of things, firstly, like Pratik said, the application of financial literacy, of math in real life, to know where we actually use this. As Sanat said, to ensure that he gave an example of his sister, how she wasn't able to use money, right? Yeah. So learning about how to manage money to ensure the best applications, ensure the best utilization of it. And Aditi too mentioned how in the growing ages times are changing, and as times are changing, money is also changing. We had to learn more about the cryptocurrencies of the current cryptocurrency, the new forms of money. So according to me, education should always teach how to live, and without money we cannot live in the current world. Financial literacy means managing money for ourselves, for our family, and the community, and the communities and the societies that we live in. Earning money is difficult, but preserving it is even more difficult. For example, famous personalities have gone bankrupt in the past decades, as we've all seen, due to lack of financial literacy. So it's important, if you want to be successful in life, financial literacy is obviously a must. And now I would like to hear the views of others too. I think Ishan, you've been pretty quiet. Would you like to go on?
Yes, I totally agree. Financial literacy is probably among the most important
topics that someone, even in their schooling days, definitely needs to know. It is a 21st century skill because money is constantly evolving and changing. And if you don't understand that, it becomes really difficult after you graduate and you get a job. It becomes really difficult to manage your money and like file your taxes and do basic things such as that. And so, yes, at a schooling age, when you're younger, it might be a bit difficult to learn. However, it might be a bit complex, but it's still a crucial aspect that I think everyone needs to know about, regardless of their age.
If I may interject here,
Um,
I should point out that we've made a great case for why financial literacy must be included in the school curriculum. But here's the one thing that we all fail to address, and it's the fact that the education system is notorious for being slow to accept change. And so we must propose solutions rather than focus on the problem. So I would like to begin giving suggestions for how to change it, how to change the education system, and how we can make it so that changes get incorporated faster, because this is the need of the hour, as all of our arguments have evidently demonstrated.
I agree. As we're seeing, the competition we're participating on also has a branch of financial literacy. So one thing that we could do is get students to actively participate in financial literacy. Like my father the other day was encouraging me to take a small bit of money, not that much, but go invest in the stock market, understand how it works, what are the risks of it, what are the pros of it. Students like my sister didn't know the pros and cons of investing in things like cryptocurrencies or the stock market. So when they actually go out into the real world, there's failure after failure. So that's why I believe that we should first allow students to go into the field to actually experience what financial literacy is themselves, to get learnings from themselves and not just from someone else who's experienced it and experience it themselves.
I definitely agree with that because from personal experience, I have noticed that when someone tells you something, I mean, you kind of understand it, but you don't really like learn. However, first-hand experiencing something is definitely, in my opinion, the best way to learn. And so, yes, experiencing it yourself and sort of experimenting with it, participating in these kinds of competitions, as you rightly mentioned, is, I think, one of the best ways to teach children about financial literacy. Because, as Pratik mentioned, the school curriculum may not implement the changes as quickly as it needs to be, because that is definitely the need of the hour.
Yes, I do agree with all of them who have told that financial literacy is definitely a must, and I think that schools should take more crucial steps right now. Like in my school, especially, we have one period completely dedicated to extracurricular learning, be it like communication skills or just how to express yourself better. So I think along with such aspects, I think financial literacy should also be taught, because financial literacy is not only managing your money but also being responsible with it, because once you grow older and you have all these responsibilities aligned with you, then I think that financial literacy will be a great asset for you to have.
Yes, exactly. And similar to discussions like these, we can conduct more exhibitions. You know how there are science exhibitions in schools. We can invite actual leaders who are skilled in the field of finance to come and give advice to the students and talk about their experiences in this field, so that the students can get more first-hand information. And of course, as you guys mentioned, how some parents provide pocket money to the kids to invest or to just use in their daily shopping habits. These provide real world experiences to the children, and this is definitely the need of the hour.
Very insightful comments from our young participants here. After that thought provoking session, we move on to part 3. A picture speaks 1,000 words. Each participant will be shown 3 unconnected pictures. Using these, you have to create a story. You will have 1 minute to think and up to 3 minutes to tell the story. Any questions? Wonderful. Let's begin. Ishan Jain, here are your pictures.
You have 1 minute for prep and you are expected to speak for 3 minutes. when it's 2 minutes 30 seconds, we will let you know that you have 30 seconds to wrap up. Your time starts now, Ishan.
It was nearly time for the alleged nuclear attack. I sprinted into the nearest forest, which was just a couple of miles away from my house, and I ran through trees and trees. I checked my phone multiple times to see whether my friends and family were safe and whether they had gotten out from the blast area in time. As I was running through the trees, I saw a cave. I thought that would be a perfect place to hide in the midst of all this war. I noticed that there was light at the end of the cave. I began to worry in case there was someone else or something. I ran through the cave and worried if there was anyone at the end because there was light. And I realized with a blast that the nuclear explosion had occurred. I called everyone I could think of and no one picked up. I sprinted through to the end of the cave where I saw the light and I found myself in a different dimension altogether. There were no trees anywhere. I realized that on my phone, the year had changed and I'd gone forward 20 years. There was no life at all on the planet. This was the possible future. I had to go back and warn everyone. There was no life anywhere on the planet that I could see. I realized that this was going to be the end of our world if we continued using up resources like this. I went back to where I was and I tried to warn everyone, but the blast had already gone off. I realized that the world was about to end and I tried figuring out how that cave worked so I could go back in time to figure it all out. This would have been so when I got back through the cave, I realized that life was continuing just as I had left it. I realized that I was dreaming, and that was the worst nightmare I ever experienced.
Thank you, Ishan. Well articulated. Next we have Sanat Marwa. Here are your pictures.
It was a regular Tuesday morning. I got out of bed at around 9:08 a.m., as I usually do, snoozing my alarm for the third time this week. I got up as I'm a minimalist. I looked at my 10 pieces of clothing and decided which one to wear today. Today's was Tuesday. As I was a manual laborer, Tuesdays were my days off. So I lived on the coast. So on Tuesdays was my writing day. Writing was my passion. So as I put on my coat and walked down to the beach, I found a nice little spot in the shade behind some rocks. I started to write my novel, which I've been working on for a year now. It's coming across quite well. It's about my experiences traveling and my experiences settling down in this coastal city away from the landlocked country I had come from. Just then I'd realized I heard some noise from the right. Then I realized that there was a group of tourists. I didn't know where they came from, but they were there. You usually don't find any people on this beach. It's quite a secluded beach. However, I saw something in their hands. I wondered what it could be. It was green, it was red, I could see orange, and it looked quite shiny. I couldn't tell what. Then, as they came closer, they said hello and raised what they had in their hand. I realized it was tin cans of soda. One was carrying a Fanta, one was carrying a Sprite, and one was carrying Coca-Cola. As they walked by, I continued writing, not thinking anything about it. From my inspiration today, I looked at the rocks. I saw how each rock supported each other. But just as they were leaving, I realized something. They littered the beach. The beach was as clean as a white sheet of paper. You never see any littering. However, the tourists had littered and they were suddenly nowhere to be seen. And then I walked down this beach away from the secluded part. Then I found the tourists. I could see that that beach was very different from the beach of my own. I could see there were cans, shoes, boxes, a lot of litter. I said this is not right. Beaches that have not been invaded by men have been so clean and at crystal clear waters. However, here they're completely dirtied in litter. This is not right. But as I walk back into my house, I don't think there's anything to do about it. However, I have an idea.
30 seconds left.
I'd use the power of the internet. The internet is a tool to help me to connect to others. So as I was back, I wrote a blog post about this. I assembled, I asked people to assemble in the beach for a clean out. I assembled about 100 people, and we spent the next weekend clearing out the trash. And by the end of it, we'd cleared almost 10% of trash up. And ever since, I've been doing this on every weekend, alone or in a team. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanat.
You make it seem so effortless. Good work, Sanat. Now we have Aditi Satyanarayana, and here are your pictures.
Well, I'm Lara. I've always been interested in murder mysteries ever since I was a little kid. And I think one of the first books I ever read was Two Can Keep a Secret, which is not a book which an 11-year-old usually prefers. They usually prefer stuff like fantasy and fiction. But I think just solving the cases and how the detective finds out the criminal is such a wonderful experience to read. So one day when I was going to school and when I asked my teacher because we had to get our results for the exam, she handed out our papers. And when I looked at my exam paper along with some of my friends, I was shocked to see my grades because me and my friends were quite good at studying and we had prepared quite well for the exam. But when I looked at the test marks, it was pretty low. I had gotten 64%, which according to me is not that great. I was really, really upset. But then when I asked my teacher why it happened, she was like, I don't remember correcting your paper. I think someone must have took it. But then afterwards, when I came to check where your original paper was, this was what I found. But I remembered each and every answer which I wrote, and that was not what I found on my paper. So, being the enthusiast for a mystery case, I'd found one of my own at the cost of my own grades. So, I set out with one of my close friends to discover who was behind it. When I started searching the different papers near my cubby holes and all the places where I could think of a person hiding the different types of question papers, I found out that all the top graders in the entire class had gotten low marks. So it was a little astonishing for the teachers, but you need proof to showcase what you're trying to prove. So later on, when I started excavating all the classrooms, I found this cranny and nook in the corner with all these bunch of art sheets and activities that were kept for our exhibition. It wasn't cleared in years together. It was basically the dump hole of our entire school. All the different art sheets and craft activities which were malfunctioning or which weren't needed were all discarded there. So I thought that it would be the best position and place to hide the question papers so that the thief could finally cover his tracks. But I couldn't go in there because our janitor refused me to go in there. So then, when one day I was coming from school, I noticed this unusual kid who I'd never
Aditi, you
noticed
have
before.
30 seconds to wrap up this meeting.
Noticed before heading into that very same room. So I followed him very discreetly. What I was astonished to see was that in a shoebox, which nobody would predict, he had hidden all the different question papers. So I confronted him like what a brave person would do and asked him why he was doing this. What he said was, people never pay attention to me because they're always talking about the top graders. Don't you think I deserve a chance too? He had gotten good grades,
Aditi, your
but at the
time is up.
cost of others. Thank you.
Thank you, Aditi. That was an interesting way to look at those pictures. Manya Sarda, here are your pictures.
Hey everyone, I'm Lisa. I'm a journalist and I'm totally devoted to my work. I go around, be it rain or shine, day or night, looking for oddities in nature. Let me tell you about some of those. Once I went to into the forest on a muddy day after the rains. I found out an abandoned car
with a broken number plate and plant life growing on it. It was so intriguing. But when I looked inside, I saw a human skeleton. I didn't know from when that car was in there, and that was very intriguing. One more day, at midnight, I saw a girl wearing black clothes trying to trying to rob a bank, I guess. But as soon as it started raining, she pulled out a pink umbrella, which was like the thing that could get you caught like very easily. So I love my job. It's so much fun, and I found out so many weird and wonderful things in the world which you never even know of. The world is a beautiful place. You have not even scratched the top of it. And I love that I live in the globe where, of course, there are many criminals, there are many bad things happening, but it's full of people with emotions, with love, and with so many feelings that you could burst. Thank you.
Thank you, Manya. You have such a unique perspective. Next, we have Saliha Bilal. And here are your pictures.
Your time is up. You can start with your story.
Hello, I'm Maya. And if I had to describe myself in a sentence, that would be I am a writer. Writing is how I express my feelings, what goes on in my mind. I feel like my mind is sometimes can be a chaotic mess, but writing helps me organize these thoughts into understandable sentences, and through this way I can explain my feelings and my emotions to others and help others going through the same things as I am. Let me take you through a day in my life. A Sunday, let's say. I wake up with a cup of coffee in my hand because caffeine, of course, who doesn't it get awake, waken up? With I sip on my spiced latte and then take a stroll through my gardens. Gardening, apart from writing, gardening is always my favorite hobby. Gardening helps me see the green in the world, which as times go on is hard to find. It shows me how life can exist in such a small place and grow into something beautiful and wonderful. God plants provide inspiration to others if only we learn to look for it. It's the small things in life that bring us the most joy, if I do say so. Apart from after taking a stroll through my gardens, I quickly wrap up a breakfast and move on with my daily job of writing. I work as a writer for a living, and writing comes quite easily to me, as I mentioned. It's all about putting down our emotions and expressing ourselves. Art is beautiful, and writing is an art. It's art is and anything is beautiful as long as it contains our essence in it. I also have a pet, a little kitten, and I named it Kitty. I do understand it's pretty simple and a bit ordinary for a writer like myself. But again, some things in life are best suited with simplicity. After breakfast and finishing up a little bit of writing each morning, I go through lunch, usually a quick healthy meal. And then during the evenings, I move back to my garden and continue gardening. Of course, during this time evening is the best time to garden according to me. This bright sunlight and
30 seconds left.
the bright sunlight and the shimmering leaves as they glisten in the evening dew. During the sunset times, I sip on a hot cup of tea in my gardens and watch the beautiful scenery. And soon comes the night time. When everything soothes down, it all cools down. The time to wrap everything up. I connect with my loved ones. I make sure to give a call to anyone important that I feel I should have spoken to in that day. Brief them about my life. Thank you, ma'am. And so ends my day and the story.
Thank you, Saliha, for the creative story. Next, we have Pratik M. And here are your pictures.
Hello, good day. As I was walking down the street, I realized my wallet was missing. I searched frantically in my front pocket, my back pocket, everywhere, but I realized I couldn't find it. Being the absent minded scientist I was, I decided to head back home and continue with my work. For after all, I had just a few belongings and around $100 in cash. And I forgot about it. And a few days later, I found my wallet on my doorstep. And suspiciously, it had a clamp attached to it. I did not know what to do, but figuring it would be best for me to get my money and belongings back, I decided to somehow open my wallet, which I eventually did with the tools I found in my garage. And I found out that there was an invitation of sorts that was scribbled down, and the address for a meeting at a restaurant where I lived, a restaurant close by where I lived. I was surprised and did not understand why the my wallet had been clamped like that, or why someone needed to steal my wallet and return it back again with no modification, without taking anything, but just adding an invite. Why couldn't that person just give me the invite? I wondered. Again, being the absent-minded scientist I was, I forgot about it and went back to work. A few days later, I realized that it was the day I had dreaded. It was the day where the planned meeting, which I had received in a very strange note, was supposed to take place. So I headed to the restaurant, and that restaurant, being Christmas season, offered me a small Christmas tree that was made out of wood, not too small, about the size of a bat you would probably wear. And as I just absent-mindedly sat down waiting for someone to appear, I played around with that small Christmas tree a bit. And then I realized that that Christmas tree was probably another clue. Because if someone had left a clue in my wallet, they would probably leave another clue. And sure enough, there was a secret compartment which gave me another clue. And it had a few suspicious words scribbled on it, but what I could make out only one word, and that was football.
Pratik, you have 30 seconds to wrap up the story.
Not knowing what to do, I called an old friend of mine who I once played football with. And he responded, and his response was basically another invitation to an expedition to study plankton and their effects on marine ecosystems. I was shocked. He was a football. Played football in the district level, and I played with him for a while. Why would he call me to such an expedition? And as it turned out, he too had become a marine biologist just like me. Oh, how life has its own twists and turns. The once footballer was now another marine biologist of my own kind. And we spent a lot of time together in a submarine. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Pratik, for the wonderful take on those pictures. I think that this session jogged all of our imaginative capabilities. Thank you, participants. Are you ready for the final round? Let's begin. Part 4, Block and Tackle. This round will test your debating capabilities even further. Participants will be invited forward one by one. As they speak, the judges will alternate between the commands of block and tackle. You will need to deliver 4 arguments when the judge says tackle and deliver against arguments when the judge says block. The topic was already shared with you and will be shown on screen as you speak. Ishan Jain from Indus International School, Bangalore. Your topic that aligns with Goal 13 of the SDGs, which is climate action, was climate change is the greatest threat facing humanity today.
Okay, you can start with block.
So, though climate change is an important issue in today's day and age, wars such as the Ukraine-Russia war or the Taliban situation in Afghanistan that are raging across the globe have killed thousands of people. And they're also using up natural resources at a very alarming rate. This could end up leading to World War III, and there would be even more resources consumed and more casualties. Sorry?
Tackle.
Climate change is also could be the greatest threat facing humanity because humans, wildlife, plants, and everything on this planet would be impacted in some way or another. More frequent and intense natural disasters such as heat waves, blizzards, storms, and droughts could be caused by climate change, and this does impact livelihood and human lives. The COVID 19 pandemic or coronavirus has taken more lives than climate change, and its impacts have ranged from school, work, and actually being locked in your own home. It has created lots of unemployment and has really caused a hit on mental health of people across the world. Ice caps are melting at an alarming rate. This causes a rising sea level. This could flood many coastal areas, and it's destroying cities and livelihoods as well. The melting of these ice caps may also lead to extinction of multiple species in the Arctic, and the biodiversity of the planet could really take a hit. Habitat destruction. Sorry?
Block.
Plastic overuse and irresponsible disposal of plastic is also one of the most dangerous issues that humanity has ever faced. Recent studies show that there have been microplastics in our blood. We might be consuming it in our food, and it's possible we are breathing microplastics right now while we're speaking. This could actually damage cells and have serious implications on human health across the world. Habitat destruction, such as that caused by climate change, is leaving hundreds or even thousands of species of animals extinct, and even more presently endangered. Due to these, animals may sometimes approach human settlements, which almost always results in conflict, and that rarely ends well for humans. It also causes a major hit in the biodiversity of the planet.
Block.
Okay. The COVID 19 pandemic has also left people greatly unhappier, and a lot of deaths have been caused because of it. And the consequences, the health consequences that are caused by it, are possibly lifelong as well. A lot of unemployment has also been caused, as many companies have been shut down in the recent years, and this has caused economies of almost all countries worldwide. And they take a hit.
Your time is up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ishan, for the interesting perspective. Here we have a second candidate, Sanat Marwa from Indus International School, Bangalore. Your topic, which aligns with Goal 10, which is reduced inequalities, was developed countries should provide asylum for refugees.
Let's start with tackle.
Yeah. So many developed countries who provide asylum for refugees, most of their workforce in manual labor or services like waiters or hotel staff are refugees. Many of the local citizens don't want to do these jobs, and thus the refugees build a majority of the demographic which are working in manual labor.
Block.
So, as one day these refugees' original countries would solve their problems, they either their water shortages and food shortages would end, or their peace would be restored. So these citizens would be required in the rebuild of their country. And if they're far away from home and settled in their new environments, they're less likely to come and help with the rebuild.
You need to continue, Sanat, till we take.
Rebuild. And another rebuild. So that thus the development of these countries will be hampered for a long time. Tackle. So it's an ethical moves. It is a right to life. The UNHCR Council in its manifesto said that seeking asylum and providing asylum for refugees is a right to life. It comes under right to life. So we should take the ethical decision and provide for these refugees. We should provide asylum for these refugees because it's doing the right thing. And they're not in as fortunate a scenario as we are. So we need to do the right thing. Yeah. So many countries, they just can't cope with the mass influx of refugees. In many countries now, especially in Europe, developed countries have a flow of refugees coming in. Many of these smaller nations cannot cope with the amount of refugees. They don't have enough jobs. Um, there's an interesting fact. In the United States, since 1980, 3 million people have been able to get asylum. However, in fatal terrorist attacks, zero of these refugees were involved. So the common stance that refugees lead to terrorism is actually not right, and is proven by and is proven and backed up by many sets of data. Cultural identities. Many countries, when they get a influx of refugees, they start to lose their own cultural identities. And preserving cultural identities is a very important thing. So the mass influx of refugees often take over the native population, and thus cultural identities is not maintained. Another point is cost. It is said that
Thank you.
That was a great take on the topic. Thank you, Sanat. That was a great take on the topic. Thank you, Sanat. Aditi Satyanarayana from National Hillview Public School, RR Nagar, Bangalore. Your topic, which aligns with SDG 3, which is good health and well-being, was social media adversely affects mental health.
Human beings are social creatures. We need the companionship of others to thrive in life, and the strength of our connections has a huge impact on our mental health and happiness. Being socially connected to others can ease stress, anxiety, and depression, boost self worth, and even Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube have become such a huge part of our lives. We often forget that social media can never replace for the real world human connections which we should make. We always find ourselves behind a screen and often fret to show our true selves as we presume that people will judge us. Our confidence is going down and anxiety is increasing. We could have a pen pal abroad who we trust and know completely, who we can relate to, as often we don't find people like that in the communities we live in. Even if they are an ocean away, they can help make us feel appreciated and we feel comfortable expressing ourselves with them. They need not only be someone new. It's not always safe to open up to someone online whom we don't even know in person. We might think that they're an eighth grader and start sharing our thoughts and later on our personal details, but they could be a 40-year-old man or woman trying to trap us. And even if we have heard about the abbreviation FOMO, which is fear of missing out, insecurities are common because we're all human beings, but it has gotten too much because of social media these days. If but I think that we don't need because everything has its own pros and cons. I think it mainly depends on how we utilize social media as a resource, because every coin has two sides to it. And in today's world, social media has impacted people so positively because we can observe our aunties and grandmothers coming up with various videos on gardening, cooking, or even cleaning their houses, and it is making them more financially independent. But we see people spending hours and hours together on social media, watching shots after shots on YouTube, reels after reels on Instagram. Spending so much time on screen doesn't add any value or new learning. It leads to addiction and depletes our cognitive thinking. We choose our mobiles rather than going out and spending quality times with friends and family. um so I think that social media is a great way because we get a lot of information through social media there on our fingertips, and many people might say that such information might not be needed at for children. But I think this problem has a great solution, saying that if we observe various OTT platforms such as Netflix Prime, they have their own restrictions. There's a load of information on internet which is available unfiltered and could be inappropriate for children. Okay, thank you, mom.
Those were some insightful arguments. Thank you, Aditi. Manya Sardar from Sanjay Godawat International School, Kolhapur. Your topic, which aligns with Goal 11, Sustainable Cities and Communities, was slum rehabilitation programs are a failure in India.
Block.
Slum rehabilitation in India is working very well. In 1995, the government of Maharashtra introduced a slum rehabilitation scheme or SRS with an emphasis on using slum land as a resource through private sector involvement by allowing an increase in the floor space index or FSI.
Tackle.
The slum rehabilitation programs in India are not working because of several reasons. Our slum rehabilitation programs are primarily aimed at providing the slum dwellers with four walls and a roof without bothering about other necessities of the slum dwellers. In other words, our slum rehabilitation programs are nothing but shifting slum dwellers from horizontally spread kacha units.
Block.
The FSI increase allows utilization of the same land better by permitting more dwelling units than what the building rules allow. The excess units were to be sold in the open market to collect funds for the reconstruction of slum tenements. Along with increasing occupancy on the same land, it was also a measure to interest the private sector in taking up slum.
Tackle.
For example, in Mumbai's rehabilitation plans, the developers have full discretion on the quality of rehabilitated buildings, which affects the living standards so much so that these rehabilitation buildings are transformed into vertical slums. These housing units are often characterized by the lack of ventilation, thermal discomfort, lack of daylight, and poor indoor air quality in the living space.
Block.
Basically, the government sells the extra units in the SRS in the market to interested buyers and uses these funds to pay builders. The new slums are similar to buildings, and up to 25 homes are built in the same area as one old slum. Following its perceived success, the SRS became a role model for many states to emulate. The scheme has since been initiated in many Indian cities. It is also a vertical in situ slum redevelopment ISSR under the center's Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Urban 2014. It is
Block.
excellent scheme and would definitely work if implemented well. The government has introduced many more schemes to help with slum rehabilitation. Some of them are Slum Areas Act in 1956, which basically tells that
Tackle.
commercialization of this social welfare scheme has resulted in many slum rehabilitation schemes stuck up due to various reasons. According to a recent newspaper report, 533 slum rehabilitation projects are either stuck or have been shelved since 2005 in Mumbai. In a survey conducted in 2013, it was found out that
Block.
another scheme by the government is the National Slum Redevelopment Program or the NSDP. This program has helped millions of slum families across Mumbai, and there are many homes built by different builders in this program. One
Tackle.
for city governments to create suitable schemes for creating affordable.
Manya, your time is up. Thank you.
That was a good and interesting perspective. Thank you, Manya. Saliha Bilal from Dean's Academy, Bangalore. Your topic was Sustainable Lifestyle is only for the elite.
Let's start with tackle.
For sure, leading a sustainable lifestyle is only for the elite. It all starts with the mindset of the people. For example, the elite from developed nations want clean electric cars, but the lithium and cobalt needed for these cars' batteries are mined in underdeveloped countries in Africa and South America. This mining leads to multiple health hazards, environment issues, and depletion of water. This shows that in their path of leading a sustainable lifestyle, the elite only think about leading a sustainable lifestyle is not restricted to the elite, and others too need to follow the same. And some of them already do follow this. Let us start from the mindset of different people. The biggest climate activists come from modest and less powerful family backgrounds, while the elite people, like presidents and heads of countries, resist the climate actions. This is because the effects of pollution will do more harm to to the poor than the rich, and it directly impacts them. They face the first-hand effects of climate action and have more mm, the elite only think about themselves, and hence the others are forced in the opposite direction and end up bearing the brunt for their counterparts in the developed nations to enjoy guilt-free privileges. So in a way, they end up doing the dirty work and facing all the pollution. Now let's consider the costs of following a sustainable lifestyle. Basic needs like organically grown food cost double that of non-organic ones. The climate change. So I feel the non-elite people have a real mindset for sustainable lifestyle as they live it, and they have to mitigate pollution to ensure the basic survival. Now coming to the cost of leading a sustainable lifestyle, the most expensive and technically advanced items, um, the most the food organically grown food costs double that of non-organic food, and other basic necessities like eco-friendly clothing and housing are super expensive. So while we are living in a world where most of the people lacks these basic population, they still need food, clothing, and housing. So how will they be able to manage living a sustainable lifestyle with all the extra things? But the non-elite don't use any luxurious devices like electronic devices, luxurious devices and instruments like like cars, luxurious cars, electronic expensive devices, and so on. And hence, they already follow a sustainable lifestyle because these devices and instruments are the ones which pollute the world the most. This, coupled with the mindset, the elite invited all the polluting equipment and machines like cars and industries for their luxury. They enjoyed the benefits of these for hundreds of years. But now, when the underprivileged try to come out and enjoy some of those benefits, they're prevented
Your
from
time
doing
is
so.
done. Thank you.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Saliha, for the engaging arguments. Our final candidate for the senior round, Pratik M. from Padma Sheshadri Balabhavan Senior Secondary School, KK Nagar, Chennai. Your topic, and this aligns to goal 12, which is responsible consumption and production, was green tax should be enforced on all industries to curb pollution.
I have three arguments today. Number one is going to be the economic impacts. Number two is about the ineffectiveness of taxes. And number three is about the inequality it causes. Firstly, starting with the economic disadvantages. It leads to increased costs for businesses and individuals, which in turn will lead to reduced consumer spending and will lead to a decrease in overall economic growth. Businesses may be at a disadvantage if they operate in a country that has a green tax while their competitors don't. This inequality will further be elucidated. Coming to tackle, a convincing example that it can be done in real life is that of Sweden, which implemented it in 1991. Over the next 3 decades, emissions fell and GDP rose. I have three main arguments again: the economic incentives, the environmental benefits, and the health benefits for society as a whole. The economic incentives. It provides an incentive for companies to invest in new eco-friendly technologies. This also promotes competition between companies. And block businesses may be at a disadvantage, and also businesses may be at a disadvantage to operate in a country that has a green tax where the competitors don't. And revenue in third world countries from these taxes will probably be ill spent, and as the governments will not uh, revenue for governments from these taxes can be used for essentials like food and water in third world countries, or more investment in eco-friendly technologies in more developed countries. Moving on to the environmental benefits, this will lead to reduced pollution, that is like improve air quality, water quality. This will protect natural habitats, preserve biodiversity, and so many other benefits. It will also lead to climate change mitigation. The ineffectiveness of these policies is glaring at you right at the face. Lobbies like big tech will definitely convince governments to make exemptions. The power of lobbies cannot be understated. As for investing in new technology, it is prohibitively expensive, both in case of investing in new technologies and the form of paying taxes if you don't invest in new technologies. climate change mitigation is another important benefit of green taxes. This will lead to a secure long-term future rather than a short-term future where we focus only on economic growth. And it will also increase energy efficiency. A great example of this is solar. Solar is a cheaper, renewable resource and is much more efficient. And this was possible, and there is a lack of transparency, and the methodology of counting of emissions is not really something that can be easily quantified. So it will be very difficult for governments to actually measure emissions and accordingly tax
Thank you, Pratik.
industries.
Your time's up.
Thank you, Pratik. That was quite spectacular. Please put your hands together for our wonderful participants. Congratulations to all our finalists. At this point, I request the judges to take a moment to address the finalists and share their valuable feedback with them.
Good evening, everyone. Congratulations to all the finalists. Hi, Ishan.
Hi.
So, congratulations and really good effort. I liked all your inputs in all the 3 rounds. I really liked how you used the right intonation during your block and tackle. It did sound like you're really persuading us, especially one part where you said, right now this has to change. So I liked how you intonated that well. And also during the GD you had real life examples like we need to learn how to file our taxes, and it's easier to learn when we experience things firsthand. So I thought those were really good inputs when you do participate in the GD, like using your real life examples. That was really good. And even during the storytelling round, the connect the pictures, it was quite descriptive. We were able to imagine you running in a forest. You used words like sprinted into the forest, so I thought those words were also good usage. If you had to improve, I would say that probably you need to be a little careful with the usage of words. Sometimes the usage is not right. Like for example, you said schooling age, which is not right, and you said when I saw the forest, it was all trees and trees. So you could use something better there to describe the forest. And there was also unhappier. So I think things like words like this, you might be a little careful when you're speaking. Yeah. That's all I had. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, good luck.
Hi, Sanat.
Good evening, ma'am.
Congratulations. You've gone through 3 very difficult rounds, I'm sure, and you're here in the finale. So congratulations for that. To start with some positives, all 3 of us loved that you began your when you started giving your take during the GD, you started with an anecdote, which all 3 of us really appreciated. Also, your story was wonderful. It was very creative, and I also noticed that you were using gestures. I could see that you were involved in the storytelling. So that was great. And it is also an important tool when it comes to communication, gestures, right? Now coming to things that you can work on. In the GD, you were perhaps not very active. So in a group discussion, you can't really wait for others to finish talking. So you have to create the opportunity and just jump in, right? So that's something that you can work on. And also when talking about words, when you're in the block and tackle section, when you're oscillating between block and tackle, it is still a unified speech, right? There needs to be a structure, correct? So you can use words like on the other hand or nevertheless, words like that to structure your speech so that everything remains connected. All right? Otherwise, fabulous effort. Good job and all the best.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hi, Aditi. Hey, congratulations on getting so far, getting through all these rounds, and you've done a great job. Your engagement through all the rounds was excellent. You brought up the way you brought up things like financial literacy will be a great asset. Through your GD, and you had connected this to your pictures also, you did bring those up. And you also, for your block and tackle, for social, regarding social media, you mentioned ways we can make things better. You actually you brought up points that were very thought provoking. You also use great intonation, with your rise and fall of speech, which also kept us engaged. So great job on all of this. If you were, here are some points that you can keep in mind for your next time. One thing you need to think of, especially when you're narrating a story, would be how well will my listener understand. So sometimes you used, very conversational speech, colloquialisms like she was like, instead of she said, or someone must have took it, someone must have taken it, is what we say, right? Um, and one other thing with your block and tackle topic, there were some places where you started talking about the financial independence that other people gain by being on social media. Were a little away from the topic, so remember to circle back to your topic to connect all your points to the topic on hand. Right? But otherwise, it was a great effort. All the best for all your future endeavors.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hi, Manya.
Hi.
To begin with, I really liked your introduction round. You drew comparisons to literary characters, and that was quite innovative. So that it started off on a great note. And throughout, in all three rounds, you did use great vocabulary like oddities in nature, intriguing, not even scratch the top of it, emulate. So I thought these were really good usages throughout in all three rounds. If I had to give you a suggestion, I would say you need to focus on your pronunciation. There were a lot of, there were words where you stressed on the R, like permitting, interest, thermal. So maybe you might want to watch out these words where you're pronouncing the R. You don't have to stress on the R. I think there's a little bit of NTI there. So I thought that is one thing you could look at. And during your GD, I believe you were kind of summarizing or agreeing on points, but you couldn't add anything to it on your own. So probably you can look at using statistics or personal experiences like how others had done, which you did in the block and tackle. Those points were excellent, where you argued for and against rehabilitation being successful or a failure in India. So like that, try to use points like that even in your GD. That's all I had. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, good luck. Thank you.
Hi, Saliha. Again, right. So let me start with first for congratulating you. Yeah. So now let's move on to what you did well. So I think again, all three of us were very, very thrilled to see you consolidate all the points before adding your points in the GD section. It showed that you were listening and that you were interacting with the other participants, which it was very well done. And I also like the way you supported your participants and allowed them to participate as well. So that was very well done. If I had to give you a suggestion, it would be to slow down. All right? I feel like your brain is very fast and you need to let your words catch up with your brain. Right? So this affected your speech, I think, in two ways. One is that during block and tackle, you were using a lot. During the storytelling session also, you were using filler words like gaps, kuti gaps here and there. Sorry, small gaps here and there. Right? And also, when you're too fast, it's very difficult to structure anything. Be it a story, be it a speech, it's very difficult to structure anything. But when you slow down, you can organize your thoughts, structure your thoughts, and make it a little more connected, right? So next time you have to give a speech or tell a story, slow down, and then it'll have a little more structure. All right? All the best.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll definitely try to improve on these points.
Great.
And also, I had a query
Sure.
regarding the introduction round. Will the introduction that we gave today be used to evaluate,
Yes,
or
of course.
Yes.
We will be using the video and the way you introduce yourself at the beginning of the session.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, Pratik.
Hello, Ma.
You did a great job introducing yourself. You managed to align your introduction also with the sustainable goals, I noticed. A great job, and you also used some really fancy words like, the polynomials and numbers theory, and you impressed us greatly with all of this. Um, I really appreciated the way you managed to bring about you managed to highlight the need to focus on a solution in the GD topic, where you actually said, rather than focus on the problem, let's focus on the solution. That's a great way of, getting back to getting your entire group back on topic to discuss. And also, you have a great introduction for your block and tackle. You're clear about 3 points for and 3 points against, and you very neatly, just spoke about them. It was very well done. If I were to give you some feedback, in your storytelling round, I do realize that the storytelling round is impromptu, but we do need to keep in mind how well our listener, our audience is going to understand, right? So you had mentioned something about being the absent-minded scientist I was. You can say being the absent-minded scientist I am. You are still a scientist in the story, right? And you spoke about a restaurant that was close by where you lived. It's close to where you lived. It's a small adjustment that you might need to keep in mind, and I can also imagine why they came about, because similar to Saliha, again guessing, you think very fast. So when you think very fast, you automatically start talking very fast. So while your brain can process all of that as quickly, your listener might not be able to understand. So it would be good to slow down and think about the points that you want to think. You want to say first. Prioritize which points need to be said. So this way, you'll also have a very fruitful discussion. So your other people in a group will also be able to chime in with their points, and you can have a discussion. All right. So it'll be good to keep these points in mind for the future. All the best.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. This has been very valuable feedback. And the last time I was on this competition, the feedback really helped me to improve for the next year.
Great. So happy to hear this.
Thank you, judges. Thus, we come to the end of the finale of Communication Skills category Senior Level Competition, brought to you by TCS iON in partnership with STEP from the Hindu Group. We look forward to seeing all of you again for the award ceremony, and we wish you all the very best. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Bye. Bye, ma'am.
Thus, we come to the end of the finale of Communication Skills category Senior Level Competition, brought to you by TCS iON in partnership with STEP from the Hindu Group. We look forward to seeing all of you again for the award ceremony, and we wish you all the very best. Thank you, everyone.